Your son needs protection from women who marry for money, not love, Mrs. Blackwood announced, sliding the prenuptial agreement across the mahogany table with manicured fingers that had never worked a day in their lives. Sign it now, or pack your things and leave. We'll have the wedding annulled by morning. But the distinguished gentleman clearing his throat wasn't just any lawyer. He was Harrison Fitzgerald, whose next words would reveal exactly who needed protecting from whom. The Blackwood family library looked like a movie set for generational wealth. Leather-bound books nobody read, oil paintings of stern ancestors, and enough Persian rugs to carpet a small country. I sat across from my husband James's entire family, his mother Patricia, father William, sister Caroline, and brother Edward, all assembled like a tribunal to judge whether I was worthy of the Blackwood name and fortune. We'd been married for exactly 72 hours, a courthouse wedding in Vegas that James had insisted on after a whirlwind 6-month romance. His family had been furious about missing the social event of the season, but not nearly as furious as they were about him marrying a kindergarten teacher from Nebraska. "I understand you're upset about the wedding," I began. Upset? Patricia's voice could have frozen champagne. My son married a nobody in a tacky Vegas chapel. Upset doesn't begin to cover it. "She's not a nobody," James said from beside me. He'd been getting progressively quieter since we'd arrived at his family's Greenwich estate that morning. "Really?" Edward leaned back, every inch the Wall Street broker he'd become. "What is she, then? What does Sophie bring to this family besides a teaching degree and student loans?" "Love," James said. "She brings love." Caroline actually laughed. "Love doesn't pay for country club memberships, little brother. Love doesn't maintain estates or fund political campaigns or keep the Blackwood name relevant." That's when William finally spoke, his voice carrying 40 years of corporate authority. "We've had Harrison draw up a comprehensive prenuptial agreement, postnuptial, technically, but equally binding." The lawyer, Harrison Fitzgerald, sat at the end of the table like a reluctant executioner. In his 60s, with silver hair and kind eyes, he seemed uncomfortable with the proceedings, but professionally bound to continue. "Mrs. Blackwood," he addressed me formally, "this agreement would protect the family assets in case of dissolution of marriage." "Divorce," Patricia clarified coldly. "When you divorce him, because we all know this won't last." "Mother," James protested. "Don't mother me. You've known this woman for 6 months. She's from Nebraska, for God's sake. She probably targeted you the moment she learned your last name." "We met at a charity event," I said quietly. "I didn't even know who he was." "Of course you didn't," Edward smirked. "Just randomly fell in love with the heir to Blackwood Industries. How convenient." "She was volunteering," James defended. "Teaching kids to read at the Literacy Foundation event." "A perfect cover story," Caroline suggested. "Innocent teacher meets wealthy prince." We've all seen this movie, and we know how it ends. William pushed the prenup toward me. "The terms are simple. In case of divorce, you receive $50,000 for each year of marriage." "That's generous," Patricia added, "considering you're bringing nothing to this union." I picked up the document, scanning through pages of legal language designed to ensure I'd leave the marriage with barely more than I'd entered with. "And if I don't sign? Then we'll begin annulment proceedings immediately," William stated. "James is emotionally compromised. You took advantage of his romantic nature. Any court would see it." "I'm 30 years old," James said. "You can't annul my marriage like I'm a child." "We can when you act like one," Patricia snapped. "Marrying some random woman without a background check, without family input, without protecting yourself or your inheritance." "My inheritance," James repeated. "That's all this is about. Money." "Don't be naive," Edward lectured. "Everything is about money. Love is just the story people tell themselves while they're accessing your bank accounts." Harrison shifted uncomfortably. "Perhaps we should get her to sign," William ordered. "That's what we're paying you for." I looked at Harrison. "You seem uncomfortable with this." "I'm paid to be thorough, not comfortable," he replied carefully. "Thorough," I repeated. "Then you've done a complete financial background check on me." "Of course," Patricia interjected. "We know exactly what you're worth, Or rather, what you're not worth. Harrison, I prompted. He adjusted his glasses, pulling out a folder. Sophie Marie Brennan, formerly of Omaha, Nebraska. Bachelor's in Elementary Education, Master's in Child Psychology. Significant, Caroline repeated. She's probably marrying you to pay off her loans. $40,000 in loans for someone who makes $68,000 a year, Edward calculated. Yeah, she hit the lottery with James. Is that everything, Harrison? I asked quietly. He paused, studying me with those kind eyes. That's everything in my initial report. Your initial report, I said. Not your thorough report? The room went still. Harrison glanced at William, then back at me. I was instructed to investigate your current situation, not your full history. Sophie. James touched my arm, confused. What are you talking about? I'm talking about thoroughness, I said, maintaining eye contact with Harrison. You're very good at your job, aren't you, Mr. Fitzgerald? Top of your field. That's why the Blackwoods pay you so well. I have a reputation for completeness, he admitted. Then you found the sealed records. Patricia leaned forward. What sealed records? Harrison was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out a second, much thicker folder. No, William, que mandid. Whatever game you're playing, it's not a game, Harrison said quietly. It's due diligence, which I completed despite your instructions to stop at surface level. What are you talking about? Patricia demanded. Mrs. Sophie Blackwood, née Brennan, is indeed a kindergarten teacher. She does make $68,000 a year. She does drive a Honda Civic. He paused. She also inherited controlling interest in Brennan Technologies when her father died 10 years ago. The silence was absolute. That's impossible, Edward whispered. Brennan Technologies is worth approximately $300 million at current valuation, Harrison continued. Sophie owns 51%. Her trust fund, established by her father, generates roughly $8 million annually in dividends. $8 million, Caroline repeated faintly. Which she donates, Harrison added. All of it every year to literacy programs, schools, underserved communities, and teacher training initiatives. But she lives, Patricia couldn't finish, in a one-bedroom apartment in Queens, takes the subway to work, shops at Target. Harrison pulled out more documents. By choice. Her liquid assets, not counting the company value, exceed $80 million. This is a lie, Williams said flatly. Some kind of con. Your son, Harrison interrupted, married a woman worth approximately 4 times your family's combined assets. Who lives like a teacher, because she is a teacher. Who volunteers at literacy events, because she cares about literacy. Who fell in love with your son without knowing his last name, because she doesn't run background checks on people she dates. I watched the Blackwood family process this information. Their worldview, where they were the prizes and everyone else was trying to steal from them, was crumbling in real time. Why? Patricia asked me directly. Why hide this? I didn't hide it. I just didn't advertise it. My father built his company to make technology accessible to schools. I honor that by teaching. The money is just there. It's not who I am. But the prenup, Edward said slowly. You're going to sign it. Of course. I don't want James's money. I never did. You have your own prenup? Caroline guessed that I shook my head. I don't believe in prenups. But your assets, William started, are mine to risk. If James divorces me and takes half, then he takes half. That's what marriage means. Sharing everything. That's insane, Patricia breathed. You're worth $300 million, and you married my son without protection. I married him with complete protection. I corrected. The protection of knowing he loved me when he thought I was poor. Do you know how rare that is? How many men have dumped me the moment they found out about my inheritance. But James fell in love with a kindergarten teacher who shops at Target. I did, James said, still looking stunned. Ido, Sophie. Why didn't you tell me? Because it doesn't matter. Because I wanted to be sure you loved me, not my portfolio. Because I've been burned before by men who saw dollar signs instead of me. So, This prenup, Harrison said carefully, is actually protecting the wrong person. Protecting me from a woman worth $300 million. James laughed, slightly hysterically. That's absurd. No, Harrison corrected. It would be protecting her from a family that's already discussing how to access her assets. The accusation hung in the air like a blade. We would never, Patricia started. Wouldn't you? Harrison pulled out his phone. Should I play the recording of your conversation with William this morning? The one where you discussed how to leverage Sophie's inevitable gratitude for accepting her into the family? How to guide her toward investing in Blackwood Industries. You recorded us. William's face went purple. I record everything. Lawyer habit. Particularly useful when clients ask me to do something ethically questionable, like investigate only surface details of a woman worth hundreds of millions. This changes things, Edward said, mind already calculating. Sophie, obviously we were wrong about you. The prenup is unnecessary. Actually, I interrupted. I think I'll sign it. Everyone turned to stare. What? James said. I picked up the pen. This protects your family's assets from me, right? Ensures I can't claim any Blackwood money or property. Yes, but William started. Perfect. I signed with a flourish. There. Now you're protected from the gold-digging kindergarten teacher. All $50 million of Blackwood assets safe from my $300 million clutches. Sophie. Patricia tried. We obviously misjudged. No, you judged perfectly. You saw a woman you deemed unworthy and tried to protect your son. I understand that. I even respect it, but I don't forgive it. You're being dramatic, Caroline said. We didn't know. Exactly. You didn't know, didn't ask, didn't care. You saw Nebraska and teacher and decided I was after your money. The fact that I have my own doesn't change who you are. But it changes who you are, Edward insisted. No, it doesn't. I'm still the same kindergarten teacher who married James in Vegas. Still the same woman you wanted to throw out 10 minutes ago. Money doesn't change character. It reveals it. I stood, James rising with me. Where are you going? Patricia asked. Home. To our apartment in Queens, where we'll live on our salaries and build our life together. But the estate, family dinners, social obligations, William sputtered, are your concerns, not ours. I looked at James. Unless you want to stay. God, no. He grabbed my hand. Let's go home. This is ridiculous. Patricia stood. You can't just walk away from the family. Watch us, James said. You spent 3 hours trying to humiliate my wife, trying to reduce her to nothing. Turns out she's worth more than all of us combined. And you know what? She was worth more than all of us when she was just a teacher, too. James, William commanded, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. I'm choosing the woman who loved me without knowing my net worth over the family who sees bank statements. If you leave now, Patricia threatened, you're cut off. No trust fund, no board position, no inheritance. Okay, James said simply. Okay. Edward laughed. You're giving up everything for love. Yes. Weird how that works. He looked at me with wonder. Besides, my wife owns a tech company. Maybe she's hiring. We do have an opening in our education division, I said. Perfect. I accept. As we headed for the door, Harrison called out, Mrs. Blackwood, you'll want this. He handed me a different folder. Divorce papers pre-filled. Just in case you decide marrying into this family was a mistake. I looked at the papers, then at him. You really do think of everything. It's my job. Though, for what it's worth, I think your husband chose well, both in Vegas and just now. Harrison, William barked, you work for us. I work for justice, Harrison corrected. And occasionally, justice looks like a kindergarten teacher from Nebraska being worth 4 times her snobby in-laws. We left them there, the Blackwood family with their prenups and prejudices, their assumptions and arrogance. In the car, James finally broke. $300 million. Brennan Technologies. Sophie, I don't even know what to say. Say you love me. I love you, but why didn't you tell me? Because I needed to know you'd choose me over them. The poor teacher over the rich family. And you did. I'd choose you over anyone.
I know.
That's why I married you. Well, that, and you look really good in a tux. I wasn't wearing a tux in Vegas. No, but I have a good imagination. He laughed, then grew serious. They'll come around when they realize what they've done. Maybe, but it won't matter. We'll build our own family, our own traditions, without prenups or background checks or conditional love, on a teacher's and software designer's salaries. Why not? We'll live modestly, save carefully, and never, ever judge someone by their bank account. And your $8 million annual dividends. We'll continue donating to charity. Unless you have objections.
No objections.
Though maybe we could keep enough for a bigger apartment. One where we don't hear the neighbors fighting.
Deal.
But we're keeping the Honda. The Honda's perfect. Just like my kindergarten teacher wife, who happens to be worth a fortune but prefers teaching 5-year-olds to read. Flattery will get you everywhere, Mr. Blackwood. Good, because I'm thinking we should go back to Vegas. Do the wedding right this time. Elvis impersonator and all. Your family would die. All the more reason. We drove back to Queens, to our small apartment in our small life that was bigger than anything his family could imagine, because we'd chosen each other over everything else. And that, as it turned out, was worth more than all the Blackwood and Brennan fortunes combined. The prenup, protecting them from me, sat in my purse like the world's greatest joke. They spent so much energy guarding their $50 million from someone worth $300 million who didn't want a penny of it. But then again, that's what happens when you judge by appearances. Sometimes the gold digger is actually the gold mine.